I had the new tyres fitted yesterday, and when I had the car up I looked into the wheel well and saw this oil leak. I had been losing a little bit of power steering fluid again. About 2 or 3 years ago I replaced the rear hoses, and I thought that maybe I've done something wrong there, but obviously now the front hoses on the power steering rack have let go. So a little bit of fun in a small garage trying to get the car up high enough on the front end. So I'll take a few more videos and talk you through it this time. Okay, after getting the car up in the air so I could get right under the car for the full length, I've localized the leak down to what I believe is the return line, the soft return line just up in that area there. I'll sneak under the car and show you. This is a right-hand drive car in Australia, so the steering rack is opposite to the US and European spec cars. As I said earlier, I've already changed a couple of years ago. I changed the soft lines from the engine bay down to the hard lines that travel under the body. I'll just take you underneath now. You can see oil everywhere, and that's the line there, and that's got a coupling on, which I'll go into. I'll just get a focus for you in more detail in a moment. So being the larger line, sorry, the smaller line I should say, if that's the one that's leaking, makes it the high pressure line out of these two guys, and they travel in along the body and then flicking around, looking towards the back of the car now. On the left hand side, you know, the US driver's side, Australian passenger side, they have these two couplings here. I'll show the part numbers for those, seal kits for those. In Australia they run into about $140 per kit. I've got them, but I've never fitted them. They might get done this time. Might not push my luck, because it's a bit of a pain to get to all of this, taking off the body covers and getting the car up high enough and so forth. So anyway, I'll pause the video for now and get this line out and see what we can find. Okay, well, I got the pressure line out. That's the culprit there. That's the coupling, and that has this flexible line which sneaks down past the boot or fuel tank, frunk, wherever you are, whatever you want to call it, and then goes back down and works its way down towards the back of the car. And that's the guy there, has the coupling at the other end as well that I was talking about earlier. So this isolator here is soaked, and this end of the hose is also fairly wet, and that sort of coincides with that area down in there, which is I've cleaned up with 2 cans of degreaser and then rinsed off with a can of brake cleaner. So what I'm going to do tomorrow, because this crimp here on the flexible hydraulic line is very similar to what the motor to hardline soft lines were as well, and I had new ones of those made up and grafted onto the pipe work at the back in the engine bay. So I'm going to show these to my hydraulic guy tomorrow to see if he can, I don't know if it's possible or not, carefully cut these crimps off, because we have to, one, keep that coupling at the end and fit back onto here. Otherwise I'll contact one of the Porsche specialists here in Sydney to see if I can just buy the whole replacement unit, but I quite like repairing things if possible rather than just throwing something away and replacing a whole unit. I'll give you an update tomorrow and let you know how I go. Further to my previous comments, these crimps are fairly severe compared to what you see done these days, and I believe that's part of what damages the hose and causes it to leak between the hose and the crimp, because the crimp goes right through the whole hose into the stem or the hose tail. That's what I noticed on the previous hoses that I had repaired and grafted in. So this is actually, even though it's a 987.2 Cayman, it's a 997 part number. 997.34452 1112, and then the numbers, the 4 numbers after that, I believe, are the date of manufacture, because they vary, and in the spare parts listing, the spare parts number stops at the 12. This other return line here, the dirty line, not the clean black line that disappears towards the back too. If I move that, there it is there. You can see it wriggling around. That's a hard line on the 987.2, even though the spare parts listing shows it as having a flexible section, rubber section through here from the coupling back. So there's always differences, I suppose, but we'll see what we can find out in the morning and give you an update then.